Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. I just want to start by thanking all the attendees for taking time to join us today. And as always, we're definitely excited to have you with us today. So today's webinar is we're going to be taking a look at the SolidWorks Electrical Schematic Challenge, where we will be taking a look at, a project being created in generic CAD and that same project being created in SolidWorks Electrical and efficiencies and value that can be gained from this tool. Little housekeeping to start. So if you're new to GoToWebinar, a few things that can make your experience a little bit better. We always suggest viewing this in full screen. I would definitely suggest it for this particular case because some of the windows might be rather small if you're not. Also, regarding questions, I have my counterpart, my coworker, JP, on the line with me, and he's going to be taking questions throughout the webinar. We'll also have some time Q&A at the end where we can address some questions. So as the questions pop into your head, put them into that questions panel. Either JP will answer them live, or we can address them during the Q&A session if time allows. All right, so continuing on that path, we'll do some introductions here. We'll come on camera real quick if I can. All right, so to introduce myself, my name is Thomas Smith. I am a industry process consultant with SolidWorks, focusing on our ECAD tools. I'm based out of Denver, Colorado, and I support all of North America. Been with SolidWorks about 1.5 years and have, about 12 years in total of design and industry experience working with the ECAD tools. So glad to be with you guys today. JP?
I should probably unmute myself, but I'm JP Emmanuel. I am Thomas's counterpart over on the East Coast, and I have been with SolidWorks for about 6 years, dealing with the electrical products the entire time. So glad to be here with everybody. And again, I'll be on the back end, so if you have questions during this webinar, I'll be trying to answer those live right there. Otherwise, we'll have some time at the end, hopefully, to answer some of them.
Perfect. Well, thank you for the background support, JP, and yeah, we'll talk to you later. All right, so let me shut off my camera and we'll get back to what we're here to talk about. So I just want to start out by, really addressing, why we would put together, this webinar content. And really it's because, through my experience and, working in industry and as a consultant, is that there's pretty common issues that our customers and organizations are facing when it comes to their ECAD solutions. And that's typically, disconnected users. Everybody works locally, independent, siloed information, dated workflows. The application, is the same, standard generic CAD the way that it was, created for initially back in the 80s, possibly. Now they've added new commands and things like that, but pretty much the design tool itself is dated, leading to a lack of capabilities for further automation and efficiency gains. All of which, us as the users who have to interact with this application day in and day out, it can cause frustration because it seems like we are, not taking the best use of our time. So that leads us, to a question. And, I think the question is this: are intelligent schematic capture programs faster than generic CAD systems? And if so, how much faster? And so that's what we're here to prove out today. I think a good place to start is when, we take a look at the history of intelligent systems. I think, we'll start by using some obvious examples of how, automation and improvements within technology have helped us be more productive. The first example, and an easy place to start is when we look at the traditional typewriter and where we progressed up to, Word and word processor, where we have technology that checks for typos. We can insert tables and graphics. That was a leap of technology that majority, if not all people, have been on board with and have benefited from those efficiency gains. Bringing it a little more closer to home, as some of us on the line might have done this ourselves or have at least seen a picture, but the drafting board, right? I mean, what a manual and tedious process that had to be. And then with the pendulum shift in technology, when we introduced computer-aided drafting, I mean, that was a huge leap. Now we have commands that, ensure accuracy. We can reuse data, copy and paste, and pull dimensions. That was a huge leap. And it didn't stop there. You know, our mechanical counterparts continued to adapt and move forward with technology. And they, you know, got and adopted, you know, 3D modeling. And, you know, now they can take, not only do they have, you know, 2D representations, but they got a 3D model. We're running simulations, visualization, and getting realistic renderings and, you know, physical properties off of these models. But, you know, what about electrical design? And, you know, the fact is that majority of the customers that we work with, as you know, the point of this webinar, are still working with those traditional CAD tools. It surprises me that the electrical design departments have not made that same leap, you know, in the adoption of newer technology as the mechanical counterparts. And they have benefited, you know, greatly and immensely from that new technology. But a lot of the organizations, you know, when it comes to electrical design, are utilizing the same tool that they have from the get-go. And, you know, that we understand that in the work you do in this field, you know this is true. It is a hard job with complex and integrated and interrelated documentation. It's common to see documentation packages in the hundreds, if not, you know, I mean, dozens to hundreds of sheets and pages. And normally, you know, what we see with that is that, you know, everybody is using disconnected tools. And so, you know, we're designing in a 2D CAD tool, which is great. You know, we're taking advantages of lines and text and blocks, but then a huge slowdown in productivity occurs when we have to go external to that application and work in, you know, programs such as Excel to manage, you know, bill of materials, wire to and from. It's a very tedious and slow process, and it's error prone. And then even when you take all of that, when we look at change and the impact that it has, I think everybody would agree that change is painful in a standard traditional CAD environment where all those changes are manual and, you know, must be remembered by the user. So, you know, we said, you know, if in fact, how much faster could, you know, a intelligent schematic purpose-built tool, you know, be for organizations? And through the results of this, you know, this schematic challenge, what we're going to look at here, you know, we see upwards of 300% increase in efficiency. And I know that that is a very bold claim, but that is, you know, something that in this particular instance, you know, we're going to prove out, and you're going to see it firsthand. So with that, you know, I know some people on the line might have had some exposure to SolidWorks Electrical. Some of you might be getting some first exposure to it. So I wanted to start by just giving, you know, an overall real high level overview of the tool. So SolidWorks Electrical is a purpose-built schematic tool, and it was designed to help you design your systems quicker and error-free. We can facilitate this through the creation of schematics. So we create single-line, multi-line schematics. We deal with intelligent libraries in the electrical. Obviously, we're SolidWorks Electrical, but we also handle intelligent pneumatic, hydraulic, and P&ID data as well. All of which this is facilitated and driven around intelligent components, wires, symbols, and all of this is stored within libraries that are accessible to the entire team. So everybody is sharing the same data and, again, taking full advantage of that intelligent environment. Not only with schematics, you know, can we generate those, but we have tools to allow for the easily creation of panel layouts, whether that's our 2D tool or our integrated 3D add-in for SolidWorks Mechanical. We can facilitate all of those types of actions. And then reports. This is really, you know, one of the areas that I think our users see the biggest advantage of when we talk traditional CAD tools. Yes, we have, you know, purpose-built tools such as insert symbol, insert wire, but really the ROI at first can be felt in the reports, because again, a lot of those, if you're using a traditional CAD tool, you're more than likely using an external program to generate those reports. We automate that process. So all of the metadata is contained within the schematics. We extract that information, compile it into various tables and report types such as bill of material, wire from to, wire labels, etc. And then in addition to that, we also have a different type of report called a design rule check. Essentially, this is a project audit. We can run customized audits or out-of-the-box audits against our project and catch, you know, common Commonly missed errors, such as missing wire numbers, duplicated tags, over-assigned contacts, the wrong size wire gauge is connecting to a terminal. Those kinds of things can be caught. We can also run calculations such as voltage drop, fill duct ratios, etc. So all in all, we can see upwards of 50% of reduction in documentation time, which is very big for those of you who have to do this every day. Get your life back a little bit. We can nearly eliminate human error. That's due to the fact that we are solely a library-driven environment. All the data, we assume good in, good out. You put the good data in, you're going to get the good data out. Once that's built up in the libraries and repeatedly used, we know it's accurate and up to date. And then, furthermore, we can enable collaboration between our mechanical and electrical teams with our electrical add-in and allow us to share information back and forth, removing the wall that was between those two departments. All right, so now it's time to jump in and actually get into this challenge. So what's nice is I'm the one who created the data sets for both software. They're the same data sets. My background with this is I started as a controls designer in industry. I utilized a traditional CAD tool all the way through. We adopted an intelligent CAD tool, so I got to experience that. So at one point in time, I held an AutoCAD professional certification. So when I'm in the CAD environment, I'm trying to do things that I would feel like you guys, as the users who interact with the software day in and day out, utilize. So this is a real world example, and let's get into it so you guys can see firsthand what is involved here. Whoops. Okay, so you're going to notice real quick before I hit the play button, SolidWorks Electrical is on your left. The generic CAD draft site in this case is on your right. No time changes have been made on the SolidWorks Electrical side. Draft site is sped up to keep up with this time, but we'll watch and I'll talk through both as we go. So let's get this started. Goodness gracious. Let's get my clicks started here. All right, guys, so you can see that the timer is ticking. One thing that's happened over here on draft site is I started a new project based off of a predefined template. In there, now I'm going in and creating lines using, offsets. I'm changing those lines layer to reflect the appropriate wire type and starting to create a circuit. So I'm about a minute in and creating a circuit. Over here on the left-hand side in SolidWorks Electrical, you're going to see, I've been in and out of some dialog boxes. What I've done is I put in all of my project information, such as customer, specifics about the project name, numbers, designer, engineer, etc. All that information is now populated into my title block as I start adding drawings. So all of that project information, again, is stored in and already populated. I haven't even got to the point of filling in my title block over here on the right side. So in total, I'm about 3 minutes in over here on draft side. I've started to put in a motor circuit. I'm pulling, as you guys can see, off of a pre-generated palette. These are intelligent, symbols, meaning they have attributes that I can populate. In here, I'm going in with some trim commands, as I'm sure you guys have done many a times, and just cleaning that up. And just, again, continuing to work off of and building this circuit. Now over here on the left on SolidWorks Electrical, I'm a minute and a half in, and I'm starting to create some drawings. So here I'm going to put in intelligent wires. As you can see, I already have defined the correct wire style for each of these wires. I don't have to define that after the fact. These are fully intelligent with the physical properties of this wire, such as gauge, etc. So I'm coming over. This time I only pulled 2 phases to complete the circuit, as you would see. And so again, I've already started creating a fully intelligent drawing, populated the title block, added some intelligent wires, and starting to build that circuit. Again, all using intelligent tools such as insert wire. Over here in draft side, I'm 6 minutes in and still working on my first circuit. I'm placing components, manually editing the required attributes, and performing any trim commands to ensure the tags align with the appropriate rung number. Over here in SolidWorks Electrical, I'm starting to place my first distribution block. Here I actually went into a library and grabbed a manufacturer's part, which is going to define all the metadata for that, terminal connections, part numbers, etc., to be used in the bill of material. Now the second time I'm working off my symbol palette and pulling an intelligent motor symbol over, the same principle. I'm going to go ahead out to my library and assign the metadata such as part number, which will drive, again, the terminal associations and everything that I need for that. So, 2 minutes and 45 seconds in, I'm starting on that first circuit, but I've built in all that intelligence behind it. Going on a little bit of over 9 minutes over here on the right-hand side, you can see the fun task that I am performing now is the manual editing of wire numbers. So here I'm going through and ensuring that all these are correct. They're changing between each component, that the appropriate suffixes are being made. Very time-consuming and painful. I've done it. You guys have done it. You guys understand. So I'm just dropping these in. I got to make, those edits. Over here, back in SolidWorks Electrical, I'm 3 minutes in, continuing to place some intelligent components. So I got a circuit breaker put in. Here I'm going to go grab a VFD. So this is really nice, You know that VFDs have a lot of terminal connection points that got to be defined on those. This is a generic VFD symbol. So as I select the manufacturer's part based off of the terminals associated with that, those appropriate terminals are reflected in that intelligent symbol. So just coming in here to continue working on this circuit, again, I have snaps that allow me to align with my connection points, just as I would have snaps over there in DraftSite. Again, I'm just going to put these intelligent components. But notice, I'm 12 minutes and 45 seconds, 50 seconds in. I have about 3 circuits placed. Some of those still got to come back and manually edit in DraftSite. I'm 4 minutes in electrical. I'm just nearly got this one circuit complete. But behind that one circuit is all that metadata that is going to populate my bill of material, my wire from to, etc. So, already I'm leaps and bounds ahead of where DraftSite or generic CAD stands at 14 minutes. So I'm going to continue to populate some manufacturer's information. Here I'm making a relationship between a parent and child component. So I had the contacts over there for the motor starter, and then I associated that too with the parent coil there on its appropriate rung. And again, I'm placing intelligent terminals, assigning those to the appropriate terminal block so I can create terminal drawings, etc. A lot of data is going in, but again, I'm only 5 minutes in almost, and I got a fully intelligent, little circuit here. But what's really nice is what I'm about to do over here in SolidWorks Electrical. So I'm going to do a copy and paste similar to what I did over here in DraftSite to get those 3 circuits. But what's nice about copy and paste in SolidWorks Electrical, it's fully intelligent. I just copy and pasted, and you're going to notice all these tags updated and remained unique. However, this particular motor needs to be sized up, so it had the part number on it before. I simply remove the part number, grab my new motor that I want to work with, and then I've just updated that particular circuit. So I didn't have to go in and change any attributes or anything. So copy and paste keeps it unique. So 5.5 minutes in and got 2 circuits done. I'm 18 minutes in on the right-hand side, and I am working on a step down. So I've come into a transformer. I'm going to work on creating a little circuit for the cabinet doors, some lights, and an outlet, building that over here. I don't have to explain it. You guys know what I'm doing. Putting symbols in, I'm going behind those symbols, manually editing the attributes, trimming wires, etc., changing layers to ensure I'm on the right wire type, etc., all manual. Over here, I'm still working on changing some of the differences between these motor circuits that I've copy and pasted, but again, I don't have to worry about the tagging schemes on any of these. I'm driving all the metadata from my library. So 6 minutes in, and I'm making good progress, not only because the circuit's created and the design's coming along, but all that, again, as I'm going to drive this home, all the metadata behind. All right, so checking in here again, let's stay in SolidWorks Electrical, because here's a nice feature. What I'm doing is putting in intelligent source and destination arrows. So I'm saying this arrow, this wire starts here and continues here, driving that intelligence of those wire numbers behind that. So once I make that association, now again, all that those wire information is intelligently fed through those connected wires through source and destination. Super easy to manage. Again, compared to the manual efforts it takes on the CAD side, can be complex. So I'm building out, you can see the same exact circuits. So I'm just going through on the left-hand side, putting that circuit in, applying part numbers. Over here in DraftSite, I'm 23 minutes in and still working. I got majority of the project, we'll say, done. I'm putting in distribution block, coming in, modifying wire numbers, making sure everything's aligned, and in position appropriately. So that fun, work that we all look forward to doing every day. And that was sarcasm, if you didn't know. But, that, as you can see, it's painful and tedious, and you guys live it in the real world. So, you guys fully understand. In electrical, 7 minutes and 45 seconds, still, building out my project circuit, just defining wires. Again, I'm ensuring that all these wires are of the appropriate wire type before I place them. And again, it knows the size, color, gauge, physical properties of these wires. So all that, again, a little more dialog boxes involved when you work over here in SolidWorks Electrical, but again, we're capturing a lot of the data on the front end, dramatically adding efficiency on the back. So actually over here on the right in draft site, we've completed the work over there. And so what I've done is I've transitioned over to Excel, and I'm building out my bill of material. So, I have a couple columns that I'm populating, the mark, reference, description, and manufacturer. Keep it simple. But as you can see, I have to go line by line. I'm, referencing this off of documentation, ensuring that what I put in my schematic is getting represented inside my bill of material. It's, this is me physically typing or reusing information where I can. So it's error prone because it's driven by me, the human. So I'm going to populate that, but you guys know what all the effort that includes in that. Checking back in, we're going into 9 minutes in SolidWorks Electrical, getting ready to build out that little circuit for the cabinet lights and door switches. So again, here I'm just putting intelligence. It knows snap points. I'm using ortho to help me ensure that I'm drawing in the appropriate direction. So you have all the features that you're used to as far as snap, object snap, ortho mode, grid, etc. So and one thing I wanted to keep this as realistic as possible, even if it's rehearsed, or even when you do it in day out, you make mistakes. It just happens. So I've made actually mistakes on both sides. Here I'm getting ready to make a typo in my bill of material that I have to fix. So that that happens. Over here in SolidWorks Electrical, I actually put in an extra rung. I'll have to clean that up. But so it's not that I intended to do these. These were actually just what happened in the course of me recording these videos. So I wanted to keep it real because this is the way it goes sometimes. But you can still see when it comes to SolidWorks Electrical, these types of changes and impacts really don't impact the overall workflow. So 32 minutes in now on draft site and still populating my bill of material. So this, again, this is where I think a lot of people get the frustration, because we go to school to be engineers, we carry engineering degrees, but yet, we're spending over half our time or more inside of Excel typing data. Where we should really be letting the software manage that, which it does inside of SolidWorks Electrical. So it really helps get you back to doing what you want to do, and that's designing, engineering, and being innovative and having that time to do that instead of manually inputting fields into a table. Okay, so we're letting that go here. I think you can see in draft site side or Excel, I have type something where it shouldn't go, so I'll have to fix that. Over here in SolidWorks Electrical, I'm going to add a little surge protector, circuit breaker, and then I should be moving on to wire numbers, which I think you guys will appreciate as you see this. So 36 minutes in on draft site, and now I've completed the bill of material. Now I'm doing the wire to and from, which is extremely painful. It is very manual to look at the schematic and go line by line for those connections. Over here in SolidWorks Electrical, you can see me selecting some lines. What I'm going to do is change the wire type. So I drew those all as a single wire. Now I have components in there. So I'm going to replace these wire styles with the appropriate wire style. So you can see the intelligence built in with these wires. I simply select. All those have been defined on the appropriate wires. All right, so what I'm going to do now is go over and look at a design rule check. Nothing like this has been done over here in draft site. So I'm 11 minutes in and I got these audits that I can run against my project that's telling me I got some errors, and it gives me an opportunity to fix those errors. And so some of these errors are simple. I haven't applied wire numbers. So, if I forgot to do that before I send it out, I can quickly hit this one button and generate all my wire numbers based off of, intelligent wire numbering schemes. So none of that is manual. I don't have to worry about doing that correctly. And if I check my audit, I see all those errors are removed because I fixed those errors prior to the generation of my reports. So I'm 12 minutes in, intelligent schematic, and now I'm generating reports. I am 40 minutes in DraftSight over here on the right and still working on those manual reports. Here, I have predefined reports built into my project. I simply select the reports I want to run, hit OK, and generate my drawings. So it's going to create the tables, place them on the drawings, and add those drawings to my project automatically. No manual. Again, the benefit of all of this is that the software does the work for you. We have a very powerful SQL database driving all of the intelligence of this. You can see here, we got our bill of material. Notice those motor sizes. We have a 15, a 10, and a 25 horsepower. What I'm about to do on this side, and there's my wire from to report, just so you guys can see the comparison between the two. What I'm about to do is an initiated design change. So I've done all this, but now I found out my motor size needs to change. So I have documentation created, etc. All I have to do in SolidWorks Electrical is simply come over and make the change in one place. So I've removed that part number. The symbol isn't related to that part number. So as I assign a new part number, in this case, a 25 horsepower motor, all those properties come over and will populate and update into the existing symbol. So that part number has been updated to reflect that. I'm also going to change the part number inside of this circuit breaker. So I'm 14 minutes in.
I'm having trouble hearing you.
My documentation, and somebody just thought I was talking to him. Sorry, thought I was talking to him. Sorry. So, all my documentation is done. I've done this engineering change order, and now I'm simply going to redo my report, and all of that is updated to reflect that change. All under 15 minutes. Over here, I'm 46 minutes in DraftSight and Excel. I haven't even initiated that same design change. So here I'm trying to, import over here in DraftSight. I'm importing those tables that I just created in Excel. We all know how fun it is to work with this workflow and positioning those correctly in my layouts. Over here, you're going to notice that once I updated those reports in SolidWorks Electrical, my BOM and bill of material, wire to and from updated instantly. And so now I'm ready to go and generate my outputs. Over here on the right, I'm 50 minutes in and manually coming in and changing my BOM to reflect the motor and circuit breaker change. So I had to do that manually. Over here in electrical, I'm outputting my final documentation. So 15 minutes generating an intelligent PDF with hyperlinks in it so that you can easily browse that in electronic PDF. Over here, 50 minutes had to put in those tables that I updated in Excel, and now I'm going through and running, my publish to PDF commands. So, I think it's clear to see here, going through the same motions, the same data sets, the same workflows, I was able, in 15 and a half minutes to output a completed project in the scope of what we're looking at here, and just over 50 minutes, the same project inside of generic CAD. So, now we're at the finish line. What does that actually translate to for you, the users? Well, I think in this challenge, it's clear to see who the winner is. When you're looking at SolidWorks Electrical versus generic CAD, SolidWorks Electrical will come out on top every time, in my opinion. So again, we are seeing averaging of 50 minutes within that data set, and an averaging, I rounded up of 16 minutes in SolidWorks Electrical. So we're seeing, a 3 times improvement in efficiency, right off the bat. And as I stated before, I tried to keep this as realistic as possible. And what's great about this is, to anybody who is on the webinar, we have a share site where I will share these data sets, and you can, time trial it. Like I said, I used to be a user of CAD. It's been for a few years, but I still feel like, I'm pretty savvy. So I don't think I cheated in any way, but you're more than welcome to do your own time trials with the data sets as well. We wanted to keep it extremely transparent in that regard. So, just a summary really of kind of what we've talked about. We saw some dramatic results there. And, while the scope of this example was rather small, I think you guys should find peace of mind that larger projects are even faster. I mean, we have, companies doing large scale, 100 drawings plus packages, and it works seamlessly, and smooth within that. So, as you think, yeah, that was small, it was easy, but we can handle and do the same things in larger projects. We can do more ECOs and manage and facilitate that change easier, which is, again, to you guys translates, to massive increases in speed, because we're not having to go through all those manual iterations required in our current process and workflows when it regards to change, which, obviously leads itself to fewer errors, right? Less time checking. And, the ultimate question is, how do you want to spend your time? And I think we all know that we want to spend our time being engineers. That's why we went to school, not to populate Excel documents. So not only does SolidWorks Electrical offer, proven technology, that, many customers and organizations are taking advantage of, but we have a strong user group and support base. So whether that support is offered through your value-added reseller or through user groups and communities online, SolidWorks community is large, and there's a lot of resources available to you as an organization to make and ensure that you are successful. So in summary, if you're looking for a way out of the boring, tedious tasks that you're doing, you're tired of being buried in documentation, then I would hope that you guys would take an opportunity to look at SolidWorks Electrical a little further. Take note that we have a lot of content available regarding SolidWorks Electrical out there on the internet. Here is a URL that you can visit. That's kind of a landing page specific to our electrical design offerings, and I also have my email address there too if you would want to reach out. So that's the content that we wanted to show. Again, the intent was to show just a side-by-side comparison, and I think it, in my opinion, fully proved the benefits and value to be found in SolidWorks Electrical. So with that, I think we're going to open it up for Q&A. So we got.
That's right. Yeah, we've got a couple questions here, and the first one we have here for you, Thomas, is how does it handle adding a sheet within the project? Does it keep the downstream labeling the same without upsetting them?
How does that? So yeah, depends on, we have a variety of different ways of which we can manage the addition of new sheets. And so, part of a project is the project configurations behind that. In there, we can dictate, the numbering scheme that each sheet should follow when it's added. We also have different structures available within that project, such as what's called a project book. And in there, we can further define and control sheet numbering between these books. And so when we add sheets, it can go into the appropriate book and fall into the appropriate place. And then, again, all of this data is connected through a database. So, if we did need to reorder or renumber those, we have an intelligent command. That's a single click of a button. You can facilitate that. So
to add to that too, a follow-up question with that from the same person is the machine itself, right? It's already got information in there that you don't want to change. So anything updated, there are options in the software that if you do go to number new wires, there is a checkbox essentially that it will not remove or update anything that's already existing in the software. So if you've already built your schematic with certain parts, it will not change any of that information in there.
Yep, definitely. So yeah, it definitely understands and gives you the opportunity, to not modify anything. So if a tech goes out in the field, he had to pull a new wire, he just throws a label on it. You can come back and assign that and not have to worry about anything getting impacted by that. So
next question, how do schematics link to panel layouts, routing, wire diagrams, and do terminal blocks get labeled?
Yes. So that's a great question, and I'm glad you brought that up, because there's a lot of things that was missing from this little example. But as far as a connection between a schematic symbol and its panel representation, we deal with a component. So when I place that component in, within that I can have the manufacturer's part number assigned to it. The manufacturer's part number can define the schematic symbol representation and also the panel. But the software understands that once I've placed this schematic, there is a component for that schematic representation, and I just have to place the layout version of that. And as soon as I do, they're tied together associatively. So it pulls over all the tag information. It automatically knows what footprint to put in there, etc. So
Great. We have a couple more questions here. They're rolling in now. Now that we're asking questions, everybody's got their thinking caps on. How long does it take to add a component to the library?
Not long at all. So, there's a couple fields that it requires, and then there's, additional fields depending on what your organization wants to track, but it's really a seamless process. So, if you want to add an individual record as far as manufacturer's parts, we can do that. We also have an online content portal with 100-some million part numbers down there. You can download those directly and download and import those directly into SolidWorks Electrical without having to do anything but a couple clicks of a button, and you can get, hundreds of part numbers in at once. And yeah.
I would say if you had to put a number on it as far as time goes, I would say 30 seconds to 2 minutes, depending on what you're doing and how fast you are. And obviously over time, that number is going to decrease. Your speed is going to get better because you're going to know exactly what you need to add.
Yeah, definitely. But as a user of both application or multiple, it is a user-friendly process. So we got different workflows depending on what you need. But yeah, the more you do it, the better you get. So.
How long? No, we just read. Can you add components on the fly, or is there a librarian in control?
So, this is, I guess, yes and no. So it can be set up with what we call user rights. So if an organization did want to limit who can access, edit, create what, we can operate with those user rights where each user can be assigned roles and tasks that can be accomplished within it. Outside of that, if user rights are not being utilized, then each user, depending on your organizational workflow, any user could create and add to the library. So yes, it can happen on the fly, or it can be more locked down if that type of control is required. There's nothing additional to get user rights. It's built in, so it can help lock that down or remove it if needed.
Where is that question? I just read it and now I lost it. If I understand, we can get the same results but with pneumatic schematics.
This is correct.
Yeah, I would say absolutely. You just have to wrap your head around the fact that you're routing a pipe or a tube rather than a wire.
Yeah, and we did a webinar on this, so I didn't put up the link, but it's out there somewhere where we did a webinar showing SolidWorks Electrical doing some piping. So definitely, something we can accomplish. We do, ship out with libraries that contain some industry standard symbols and got some additional content up on our web portal for that as well. But the same benefits, everything you saw there, the intelligent wires would be tube and piping. The symbols carry attributes that which we can extract and run reports on. All again, fully associative.
So we've got one question that a lot of people seem to be wanting to answer to here, and both of us have pretty decent experience with it. And I don't want to get into a feature war because that's not what this is all about. But what do you see as maybe a highlight as far as the difference between another intelligent CAD tool that we all know and SolidWorks Electrical? You can read the questions.
Yes. So, without saying names, I can speak to this one relatively well. Prior to my life in SolidWorks, I was the other unnamed resources subject matter expert. So, again, I don't, each CAD tool has their place. In my personal opinion, companies aside, what I found beneficial between ours is that we're full SQL driven. The other CAD tool that is mentioned in the question, they use a mixed environment of Access and SQL. The database isn't as reliable, as quick, responsive. You have to question the accuracy and management of associations. The source and destination arrow management and other CAD tools is not as user-friendly as ours. The reporting aspect is by far superior in our tool. With the ability to write custom queries and having access to a full SQL database, you can do some powerful things that are just not an option. And then, so a differentiator that we have many webinars out there on it is when you look into automation. For one, we have an open API. You can create your own scripting, but we also have an out-of-the-box feature called Excel automation, which if you fit into the category of similar but different, my goodness, could you take advantage of Excel automation. I know that other CAD tool has something similar for creating IOs, but ours can create the entire package, all from our reference drawings, one-lines, schematics, layouts, and then with the API, we can fully automate that process with external to the application. So yeah, there's a lot of benefits, but the core ones I would say is database reliability and speed, report configurations, source and destination. We all, both applications are all intelligent CAD tools, deal with intelligent symbols and wires, but really another differentiator is our ecosystem of how we can integrate with other things, such as our integration into mechanical, our integration into PDM. Those are really some other strong suits that, if those make sense for you, then, then we kind of really set ourselves apart when we talk about further systems integration.
Yeah, one thing I would add to that is and you covered it a little bit, but macro creation, which is the nice thing with that. I don't even know if you mentioned it, but if I create a macro, if I'm on a network installation and I have multiple users and I create a macro, essentially a big circuit, right? As soon as I create that macro and give it a name, it is now a part of my database and everybody else can use it as well. So now if I just spent 15 minutes building this symbol or that entire project, right? The next person doesn't have to go and find that old project, copy paste it. It's already a macro built into your library. And now they just simply need to insert it as a new, either several sheets or one sheet into their new project. So you've just saved an additional 15 minutes building that out.
Yeah.
All right, let's see here. We got two more here. Well, we have a few more, but I think we have enough time for maybe two more. Does this link to SolidWorks to route harnesses?
Yes. So we have an add-in into SolidWorks Electrical 3D, and essentially it allows SolidWorks Mechanical to communicate into that SQL database so we can share project information between the two organizations. As we populate the schematics, those components can become available to the mechanical guys who can connect those up. Once they're associated, all that wire connection to from information is brought over, and so that we can route accordingly. So, within that, our library, I mentioned that we can map a schematic part, a panel layout 2D schematic to a manufacturer's part, but we can also map and manage the 3D models as well, really helping streamline the mechanical side as well. So definitely we connect. It is an add-in into SolidWorks called Electrical 3D.
And yes, to follow up question with that, it does you can auto route. You have the ability to do auto routing based off of your schematic into your model. Now there is some setup involved in that, but it is doable. And then you also have the ability to utilize some of the electrical routing, tubing, piping features as well in SolidWorks Premium. Let's see here. There was one about importing data. I can't find it now, but I read it a second ago.
Okay, do you import part number catalog into?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll take this one. Yes, so part number information can definitely be imported. So it's is it an XML or XLS? So we can bring it from Excel in different formats to import manufacturer's part number data. So we can take advantage of that. One thing SolidWorks Electrical does really well is taking advantage of your legacy data. And within that same question is, can you import catalog data into SolidWorks Electrical? They ask, can you also import AutoCAD Electrical blocks and components that have been created? The answer is yes. We have an import wizard that allows us to select a folder or individual blocks that were created in another CAD tool And then it allows us to map those attributes into the SolidWorks electrical attributes, and that symbol is imported ready to go. Depending on how it was created, there might be some cleanup, but there is some great tools. We can import your title blocks, we can import your symbols, your footprints, you know, your manufacturer's part numbers. So yes, all around.
One more? How about one more? I think there's one
more.
more. One report. I think it's that long one closer to the bottom here.
Yeah, it's about, I think, design rule checks.
Correct. Yep. When a report, you want to read it?
No, you go ahead.
All right. When a report is created, which states electrical errors are in your design, which exact standards are used to define the error? An example would be would the report be able to define an error specific to my location and its specific electrical standards? So go ahead.
No, you go ahead. No.
So the way it works, so Thomas showed reports. There's also another type of report that's called design rule checks, and those are run. You can run those concurrently while you're doing your reports as well. And my favorite terminology this goes for adding your manufacturer parts, creating symbols, everything, even creating your reports, queries, whatever you're doing. Garbage in, garbage out. The more information you put into your project, the more information you put into your manufacturer parts and symbols and so on, the better you can create these design rule checks as well as create your reports. So based on your question, I can create a very valuable design rule check. Now, the design rule checks that we have in the software, they're generic, right? You can always add additional information to it, but if it's very specific information that you want to put into that, then again, it would take a little bit more being robust with the tool and getting a little deeper into some of the features to get that out. But there's nothing that says you couldn't create a report specifically for that.
Yep. Correct.
Yes, last question that just popped up. Yes, this tool originally, a lot of the symbols were developed in Spain, so there's a lot of symbols that are IEC compliant. And the last question is this webinar recorded? And I'll let you answer that one, and you can finish it off.
It is. Yes. So yeah, the webinar is definitely recorded. So, you know, about 24 hours from now, all you guys will receive an email thanking you for attending, and there will be a link to the recording in that. So yeah, again, I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this. I hope you saw something valuable. And if you're currently using, you know, a standard CAD tool, you know, it's at least worth a look because, you know, again, technology is advanced. We might as well jump on board and start taking advantage of that. So thanks for your time, and we look forward to working with you guys more. So enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.